Well, hello there, my young readers, and welcome back to the channel. And if you're new, welcome. In this video, we have 1 hour of stories from Arthur and his friends. These will be the stories only, no discussions. All of these stories can be found individually with discussions on this channel in the Author playlist. So if you guys are ready, stay tuned. The name of this story is called Arthur Jumps into Fall by Mark Brown. Arthur and D.W. were finishing their breakfast. "I have a job for you today, Arthur," said Dad. "I want you to rake leaves in the backyard." "Wouldn't today be a good day for D.W. to learn to rake?" Arthur asked. Dad shook his head. "D.W. will be helping me with other things." Arthur looked up at the empty tree. "This is all your fault," he said. Then he started to rake. The leaves seemed to be sticking to the ground. Arthur raked harder. Pretty soon, he had made a little pile of leaves. "What do you think, pal?" he asked. Pal took a sniff. Then he picked up a leaf in his mouth and added it to the pile. Arthur kept raking. The pile got a little bigger. "This is a lot of work," he said to Pal. "Maybe we should take a break." Arthur and Pal jumped in the pile of leaves. Then they jumped again and again. Pretty soon, the leaves were scattered all over the yard again. "Arthur, what are you doing?" asked Francine. She walked up with Buster and the Brain. "I'm raking," said Arthur. "You're not doing a really good job," said the Brain. "It's a question of applying force properly. Here, let me show you." The Brain started raking. "See how I bend my elbows?" he said. "I do," said Arthur. "Show me more." Now Francine took a turn. "This isn't so hard," she said. "All it takes is organization and muscle power." "Wow," said Buster. "This could be the biggest pile of leaves in the country, or maybe the whole world." Finally, all the leaves were collected. "You see," said the Brain, "that's how it's done." Arthur nodded. "Thanks, everyone. It's perfect." Just perfect! The name of this story is called Arthur's Lost Duckling by Mark Brown. Arthur and Buster were sailing boats. "Look at the ducks," said Arthur. "I bet they could use a snack," said Buster. They tossed some crackers into the water. The littlest duck swam over to Arthur and Buster. Arthur tossed him some crackers. "He's so cute," said Buster. When the crackers were gone, the ducks swam away. Later, Arthur and Buster noticed the box of crackers began quacking. "It's one of the ducklings," said Buster. "He's all alone," said Arthur. "Let's take him home." Arthur took the duckling home on his bike. "He thinks he's flying," said Buster. "Bye, little guy," said Buster. "See you in the morning." "See you, Buster," said Arthur. "I'm home," said Arthur. "And I have a surprise." "Quack," said the duckling. "Can I keep him?" asked Arthur. "His mother left him in the park." "He's so cute," DW said. "He needs to be free," Mom explained. "But I guess he can stay here tonight." "It's okay, pal," said Arthur. "He won't bite." Pal sniffed the duckling. "Quack," said the duckling. Soon, the duckling followed Pal everywhere. Arthur filled the tub with water. The duckling splashed and shook his feathers. "I'm not taking my bath with a duck," said DW. Later, Arthur made a little nest for the duckling. "Tomorrow, I'll teach you to fly," said Arthur. "Then Mom will see how happy you are here, and she'll let me keep you." "Dream on," said DW. Buster came over the next morning. "Time for a flying lesson," said Arthur. He and Buster ran around, jumping and flapping their arms. The duckling just watched. "He needs a good breakfast," said Buster, but the duckling didn't eat. "I think he's sad," DW said. "We need some advice from the brain," said Arthur. The brain arrived with his remote-control blimp. "He's gonna love this," said the brain. The blimp soared through the air. "Don't you want to fly like that?" said Arthur. But the duckling just looked at him. "I think he's homesick," said DW. "Let's look for his family at the lake," said Arthur. "How can he follow his family?" said Buster. "He can't fly." "I have an idea," said Arthur. They worked on Arthur's idea all day. Then Arthur's dad drove them to the lake. "What is it?" DW asked. "It's a glider," said Arthur. "It looks like a duck," said DW. Arthur threw the glider into the air. "Come on," he said. "Fly!" The duckling flapped his wings, but nothing happened. "It's not working," said DW. "You can do it," said Arthur. The duck flapped his wings, and this time he took off. The glider fell to the ground, but the duckling continued to fly. They all heard a quack, then many quacks. It was the mother duck and her ducklings. "Look," said DW. "She knows it's her baby." "We did it," said Arthur. "He's back with his family." "Hooray!" said DW. "Now I can take a bath." The name of this story is called Arthur Tells a Story by Mark Brown. "Arthur, I'm bored," said DW. "Tell me a story." Arthur sighed. "Not now, DW." "Please," she said. "I can't," said Arthur. "I'm too busy." "You don't look busy to me," said DW. "Well, I am," Arthur insisted. "I have to take Pal for a walk." "Can I go too?" DW asked. "You could," said Arthur, "except Pal and I are climbing a mountain today. A really, really steep one." "I love climbing," DW said. I'll get my sneakers. No, said Arthur. It's too dangerous. There's a volcano at the top of the mountain. If it erupts, we'll be blown across the ocean. Sounds like fun, said DW. Not at all, Arthur told her. When we finally land, we'll be in the jungle. There'll be wild animals everywhere. Any unicorns? asked DW. Arthur shook his head. Anyway, after we escape from the jungle, we'll have to swim across the ocean. You can't swim. That's okay, said DW. I'll take a boat. But once we get on shore, there'll be reporters and photographers everywhere, said Arthur. You might get trampled in the crowd. Or maybe I'll get to be on TV, DW said. There won't be time, Arthur explained. We'll have to go right to the White House. The president will want to meet us. Ooh, the White House? Cried DW. Sorry, said Arthur. You have to be on a special list to get in, and you're not on it. DW smiled. I'm sure they'll let me in. Wait till they see my new dress and party shoes. It doesn't matter, said Arthur. We're taking a helicopter home, and there's only room for Pal and me. Besides, we'll be in a hurry. We have to get here in time to lead the big hometown parade. Oh, said DW. So now do you understand why I can't tell you a story? Asked Arthur. Yes, said DW. And thanks. Thanks? Arthur frowned. Thanks for what? DW smiled. That was the best story ever. The name of this story is called Arthur's Heart Mix-Up by Mark Brown. Done, said Arthur. I finished my science project, he told Pal, just in time for tomorrow. Pal barked and wagged his tail. It's a human heart, said Arthur. Can't you tell? Pal jumped up for a closer look. No! Cried Arthur. Before Arthur could stop him, Pal knocked the whole thing onto the floor. Crash. What was that noise? Asked DW. Ooh, if that was your science project, you're in big trouble. Arthur couldn't think clearly. I need some air, he said. Binky was shooting baskets at the playground. Hey, Arthur, he said. Want to play a little one-on-one? No, thanks, said Arthur. Binky laughed. Afraid you'll get beat? I can't even think about basketball, said Arthur. My heart is broken. I don't know what to do. Oh, said Binky. At the park, Arthur ran into the brain. Want to help with the launch? Asked the brain. I'm making history here. Sorry, not in the mood, said Arthur. My heart is broken. Oh, said the brain. Arthur continued on his way. Beep, said Muffy behind him. Double beep, said Francine. We're going for a ride. Want to come? I don't think so, said Arthur. What's the matter? Asked Muffy. My heart is broken, Arthur explained. Oh, Francine and Muffy said together. A little later, Arthur almost tripped over Buster. "Do you have any mysteries for me to solve?" Buster asked. "The only mystery I want to solve," said Arthur, "is how to fix a broken heart." "Oh," said Buster. Back in his room, Arthur looked at his project. It was in a zillion pieces. How could he ever put everything together again? Downstairs, the doorbell rang. Binky, the Brain, Muffy, Francine, and Buster were standing outside. "We all feel bad that your heart is broken," said the Brain. "Yeah," said Binky. "Who is it anyway?" "Is it someone we know?" asked Francine. "Who?" asked Arthur. "The one who broke your heart," said Buster. "Oh," said Arthur. "Come on in, I'll show you." "That's it?" said Muffy. "That's your broken heart?" Buster took a closer look. "It's in pretty bad shape," he admitted. "But we can fix it, I think." "There's no time," said Arthur. "It's due tomorrow." "We can do it," said the Brain, "if we all work together." "Yeah," said Francine. "We'll need a bottle of glue." "Maybe 2 bottles," said Binky. "I'll help with snacks," added Buster. It took a while, but finally they were done. "Finished," said Francine. "Good as new," said Buster. "Actually, it is new," the Brain pointed out. "Whatever," said Muffy. "Thanks," said Arthur. "I couldn't have done it alone." "Really?" asked Binky. Arthur smiled. "Cross my heart," he said. The name of this story is called Arthur, It's Only Rock and Roll by Mark Brown. Muffy was watching a Backstreet Boys video again. "How can you watch those sellouts?" said Francine. "They don't care about music. They just want to make money." "If you had a band," said Muffy, "you'd sell out in 5 minutes." "If I had a band," said Francine, "it would be a million times better than the Backstreet Boys, and I'd never sell out." Muffy snorted. "Oh, yeah? Prove it." "I will." Francine stormed out. Everyone wanted to try out for Francine's new rock band, but auditions weren't going well. Francine had rejected everybody so far. George came out of the music room shaking his head sadly. "Next!" shouted Francine. "I can't believe I auditioned 14 people and they all stank. Except you, of course," said Francine. "You know what they say, honey," Mrs. McGrady said. "If the mountain won't come to Muhammad, then Muhammad must go to the mountain." "Go to the mountain?" said Francine. "So, who are the best musicians we know?" Francine went to Binky's house first. "Will there be snacks?" Binky asked. Francine nodded. "Okay," said Binky. "I'm in." Then Francine asked Molly and Fern to join her band. "Francine wanted them, but not us," said Buster. He and Arthur couldn't believe it. At the band's first rehearsal, Francine was very excited. "Guess what?" she said. "Mr. Haney wants us to perform at the PTA fundraiser." "But we don't even have a name yet," Molly said. "We'll think of something," said Francine. "Let's play." "Stop that noise!" yelled a neighbor. "You stink!" "You stink too!" yelled Francine. "You..." At the PTA fundraiser, Mr. Haney introduced the band. I am pleased to present the musical stylings of you. He paused. Stink! The whole band called out. They started to play. The audience went wild. You stink! You stink! You stink! The crowd chanted. The next day at school, the TV show Almost Live wanted to interview Francine. So, what's next? Asked the reporter. Another concert? A record deal? A tour? Music isn't about making money, said Francine. You stink will never sell out. We'd rather quit. After school, Francine told Fern and Binky what had happened. We could have been on TV, said Fern. No way, said Francine. We're not sellouts. The Tibble twins ran over. Aren't you Francine Frinsky? Asked Timmy. Can we have your autograph? Asked Tommy. It's you stink, shouted some other kids. Francine walked away, but the others stayed behind to sign autographs. Let's form our own band, said Arthur. It can't be that hard, said George. It's only rock and roll. And we can call our band We Stink, said Buster. Perfect, said Arthur. Later that day, Francine saw Binky, Fern, and Molly on TV. What are your plans? Asked the reporter. Well, said Fern, maybe we could make a CD. Or some action figures, Binky said. Francine was furious. Those traitors! At rehearsal, Francine was still angry about the TV interview. Those people want us to sell out, she said. It's not selling out to go on TV, said Fern. It is so, said Francine. Binky, do you want to sell out? He thought for a minute. Maybe. I need new pants. That's it, Francine said. I'm leaving You Stink, 'cause you stink. The next morning, Mr. Haney announced that You Stink would be performing at the city's library's book sale. Francine overheard Muffy and Prunella talking about You Stink. What happened to Francine? Asked Muffy. Oh, she quit the band, Prunella said. The real news is that I just got tickets to the Backstreet Boys concert. My father's a sponsor, Muffy said, so I get to go backstage. Meanwhile, We Stink was having its first rehearsal. I hate to tell you guys, hollered DW, but you stink. No, Arthur said, we stink. Our name is We Stink. That's what I said, DW answered. You stink. Arthur, can you rehearse outside? Shouted Mom. We need the piano, yelled Arthur. With Francine gone, You Stink had to rehearse at Fern's house. We can't keep playing the same thing over and over, said Mrs. McGrady. Can anyone write music? Molly asked. Besides Francine? Mrs. McGrady, Fern, and Binky shook their heads. The next day, Muffy had plans to make You Stink famous. I'm your new manager. I've decided we'll do a video and send it to the Backstreet Boys. Then we'll go on tour with them. Then she stopped when she saw Francine's angry face. Sell out, Francine said to Fern and stalked away. Later that day, Francine decided to join the competition. She offered to drum for We Stink. But they hadn't played for long before Francine stopped them. George, can't you sing on key? She asked. What's on key? Asked George. You guys are terrible, said Francine. You need some more players, good ones. Hey, this is our band, said Buster. If you don't think we're good enough, well, I quit. Me too, said Arthur. At the Backstreet Boys concert that night, the reporter from Almost Live saw You Stink waiting in line. "What's new with You Stink?" she asked. "Nothing. That's the problem," said Molly. "We need a new drummer, a new song." "We do not," said Fern. "What about my new song?" asked Binky. "It hurts my ears," Molly said. The three of them began to argue. "Is this the end of You Stink?" said the reporter. "Stay tuned." Backstage, Muffy jumped into the elevator with Nick. Just as it began to move, she pushed the stop button. "What happened?" Nick asked. "We seem to have stopped," said Muffy. "So let me tell you about the deal of a lifetime for you and the boys." She pulled down a slide screen. "It's the chance to tour with my band, You Stink. Here's how the profits look." The other boys stood behind the stage curtain waiting for Nick. The audience was getting restless. "Can't you go on without Nick?" Mr. Crosswire asked. Kevin shook his head. "We need him." "Did anyone check the elevator?" asked AJ. Muffy answered the elevator phone. "Hi, Daddy," she said. "No, I haven't closed the deal yet." "The boys need Nick to start the concert," said Mr. Crosswire. "I can't hold off the crowd forever." Muffy pushed the start button, but nothing happened. She pushed it again. Still nothing. "Daddy, we really are stuck," Muffy said. She paused. "But I have an idea." Mr. Crosswire went to the microphone. "There's been a slight delay with the boys, but I'd like to announce that You Stink is here, and their manager says they'd love to perform for you." "I can't go up there," gasped Binky. "Not without Francine." "You have to, Binky," said Molly. "Francine?" "We really need you, Francine," said Fern. "Will you come with us, please?" After a moment, Francine smiled. "All right, let's rock." On stage, Francine looked out at the huge crowd and froze. "Francine, we need a beat," said Molly. "Francine," whispered Fern. But Francine couldn't move. Then she heard a voice in her ear. It was Brian. "Don't look at the crowd. Just think about the music." Francine took a deep breath and started playing. Fern began to sing. Her voice was shaky. Then Kevin's voice joined in. Then AJ and Howie D began to sing too. The boys harmonized with You Stink and even made up a new verse. The song was better than ever. By the end of the song, Nick had joined everyone on stage and the crowd was cheering wildly. You Stink got to watch the rest of the concert from backstage. "Wow," Francine said. "They're really good." "It's only the beginning for You Stink," Muffy said. "Today, Elmwood City. Tomorrow, the world." "No way," said Binky. "I don't like crowds. I have to quit." "Me too," said Molly. "This blister on my finger is killing me." "And I miss playing bingo," said Mrs. McGrady. "But everyone loved us," said Fern. "Yeah," Francine agreed. "Are you sure you guys want to quit?" Molly, Binky, and Mrs. McGrady all nodded. After the show, Francine apologized to the boys. "I'm sorry I called you sellouts," Francine said. "You guys are really good musicians. It's okay to want fame, just don't forget the most important part, music." Howie D handed Muffy her pie chart and slides. "Very professional. You could be our manager," he joked. "Did you hear that?" said Muffy. "Maybe in a few years I can reunite You Stink and the Backstreet Boys on tour. It's actually pretty smart for You Stink to break up. It'll create demand. It'll create buzz. It'll..." The name of this story is called Manners Matter by Mark Brown, part of the Author series. Arthur and his friends were taking turns shooting baskets. "You're up, Buster," said Francine. "Watch me and weep," joked Buster. "I can make this basket with my eyes closed." "I want to shoot one," said Binky. Binky stepped in front of him and grabbed the ball. He threw the ball into the basket. "Not bad, huh?" Binky bragged. "Binky Barnes, that was totally rude," said Muffy. "It was Buster's turn," sniffed Prunella, "and I was after him." "Some people just have no manners," said Francine. "Who needs manners?" Binky said. "I get what I want without 'em." Then Binky walked away whistling. "We can't just let him get away with that," said Francine. "What can we do?" asked Buster. "We could sign Binky up for a manners class," suggested Muffy. "Can you see Binky in a manners class?" said Francine. "Sure," laughed Arthur. "Please pass the tea, Master Binky." "And don't forget to curl your pinky," added Buster. "Hey, that rhymes." Everyone laughed. "I think Muffy might be on to something," the brain said. "A manners class?" asked Francine. "No, manners lessons," said the brain. "Binky needs to learn the importance of being polite." "How?" asked Buster. "We could be rude to him all day so he sees what it feels like," said Arthur. "I like it," nodded Francine. "Being rude won't be easy for me," said Muffy, "but I'll try." "This will be an interesting behavior study," said the brain. "I hope it works," said Buster. Later, Arthur and Buster saw Binky downtown watching a street performer. Arthur and Buster pushed their way in front of Binky. Then Buster put on his cowboy hat. "Hey," said Binky, "I can't see." "Guess you better move then," said Buster. "I was here first," insisted Binky. "Wow," said Buster. "That guy just ate fire." "Incredible," said Arthur. "I missed it," Binky grumbled. "Move, or I'm gonna—" "You're going to what?" asked Mr. Ratburn, Binky's teacher. "Nothing, Mr. Ratburn, sir," Binky sputtered. "I didn't see you there." "I was having a nice time until you guys came along," said Binky. Then he stomped away. Around the corner, Binky ran into Muffy and Francine. They were fixing Francine's bike. "Where's that bike pump?" asked Francine. Binky saw the pump on the ground. He handed it to Francine. Francine grabbed the pump from Binky and blew up her tire. "Okay, Muffy, all set," said Francine. "Isn't there something you want to say to me?" asked Binky. "Yeah," answered Muffy. "Move!" Then she and Francine rode away. Binky stared at them in shock. You do something nice for somebody, and what do you get? Just then, the brain whizzed by, right through a puddle. Mud splattered all over Binky. The brain screeched to a halt. "How unfortunate," he said. Binky waited for the brain to apologize. "Fascinating abstract pattern," said the brain as he rode away. "I don't believe this," muttered Binky. "Even the brain?" Binky headed home to change his clothes. On the way, he saw Prunella unloading groceries. "Binky, hold this bag," said Prunella. Too surprised to refuse, Binky took the bag. Prunella closed the car door and grabbed the bag. She walked into her house without another word. "Hasn't anyone ever heard of please or thank you?" said Binky. Binky turned to go. A little boy on a scooter was blocking the sidewalk. "Out of my way," said Binky. The little boy froze with fear. Binky saw Prunella watching him. "Please," he added loud enough for Prunella to hear. The little boy smiled. He moved his scooter. Binky smiled back. "Thank you," Binky said. The next day at the grocery store, Binky accidentally bumped into a lady. "Excuse me," he said. The lady smiled. "It's such a pleasure to meet a polite young man like you," she said. Binky blushed. "Some kids today don't even know what manners are," the lady said. Later, Arthur and his friends were on their way to the ice cream shop. "Move it!" Binky shouted. Francine groaned. Their plan wasn't working. They turned the corner to see Binky glaring at a big bully. "Get lost," said Binky, "and stop picking on little kids." The bully ran. A small boy hid behind Binky. "Thanks, Binky," he said. "You're welcome," said Binky. "Did I hear what I think I heard?" asked Francine. "High five, Brain," said Buster. "We did it," said Muffy. "What?" asked Binky. "Oh, nothing," said Arthur. "Want to get some ice cream, Binky?" Binky looked suspicious. "You've all been acting pretty weird lately," he said. "Really?" said Arthur. At the ice cream shop, the Brain's mom handed Binky his cone. "Thanks," said Binky. Brain's mom did a double take. "You're welcome, Binky," she said, adding another scoop to his cone. "Wow," said Binky, balancing his triple dip cone. "This manners thing really works." The name of this story is called D.W. Rides Again by Mark Brown. "I love my new bike," said D.W. "Now I can give my tricycle to baby Kate," she said. "I can go a lot faster on a two-wheeler." "Look out!" called Father. "Are you all right?" asked Father. "Where are the brakes?" asked D.W. "You have to pedal backward to stop," said Arthur. "Maybe I should give you some lessons. The sooner the better." "Tomorrow after school is soon enough," said Father. "Right now, it's time for dinner." The next day after school, D.W. was ready and waiting. "First thing," said Arthur, "put your helmet on." "When do we do tricks?" asked D.W. "Teach me some tricks." "Pay attention," said Arthur. "This is important." "Always keep to the right of the road," said Arthur, "and ride with traffic. Watch out for holes and stuff in the road. And remember," said Arthur, "stay alert. Now pull over and I'll teach you the hand signals. Use your left hand to signal. This means I'm stopping. This means right turn. This means left turn. What does this mean?" asked D.W. "It means you'll be back on a tricycle if you don't watch out," said Arthur. "Oh, I almost forgot," he said. "Steer clear of unfriendly dogs." "Burn a little rubber," called D.W. "I don't want to end up a doggy lunch." "I could go a lot faster without these yucky training wheels," said D.W. "Look at that little kid. He doesn't have any training wheels." "Nobody likes a show-off," said Arthur. I'm asking Dad to take them off when we get home, said DW. But when Father took off the training wheels, DW had a very hard time. Uh-oh, said Alex. I can't watch, said Jenna. The training wheels have to go back on, said Father, but I'll move them up a little higher. You're almost ready. DW practiced every day. She practiced right turns, left turns. She practiced figure eights and teeny circles. All the hard stuff. After a while, Father thought she was ready. Mother did too. Even Arthur thought she might be ready. Okay, said Father. I'll take the training wheels off and we'll go on a little ride together to see if you're really ready. Yippee! said DW. I'm really ready! You'll see! Dad was very nervous. Watch this, said DW. Don't show off, said Father. Watch what you're doing. Use your brakes, he called. Not too fast. Pay attention. DW came to a perfect stop. Dad, are you all right? She asked. Yes, grumbled Father. Can I keep my training wheels off? Asked DW. Yes, grumbled Father. Yippee! Squealed DW. Now you can use them. The name of this story is called Arthur's April Fool by Mark Brown. It was the last day of March. The joke shop was full of people getting ready for April Fool's Day. Arthur and Buster tried everything. Buster bought sneezing powder. Arthur got a fake telescope that gave whoever looked through it a black eye. But Arthur didn't feel like playing jokes. He kept thinking about Binky Barnes. Who is Binky Barnes? Asked Buster. Picture King Kong. Now double it, said Arthur. He keeps threatening to punch me out. The next day, Arthur was practicing his magic tricks with Buster and Francine for the April Fool's assembly. Hey, Shrimp! A giant shadow covered them. I'll show you a trick, said Binky Barnes. He grabbed Arthur's favorite pen and put it in his pocket. Now you see it, now you don't, said Binky. Hey, watch it, said Arthur, trying to look brave. Why don't you make me? Said Binky, and walked away. Pick on someone your own size, called Francine. Like Godzilla. Wow, said Buster. You were right. He's gonna pulverize you. That night at dinner, Arthur hardly ate anything. He didn't finish his cheeseburger. He didn't even want any chocolate cream pie. What's the matter with Arthur? Asked his father. He's worried about getting pulverized, said DW. Maybe he's been watching too many outer space movies, said his mother. Later on, DW barged into Arthur's room. Good night, Mr. Universe, she said. Haven't you heard of knocking? Asked Arthur. After you get pulverized, can I have your room? She asked. Beat it, DW. When Arthur finally fell asleep, he had nightmares. The next morning, Francine offered Arthur a cookie. Yuck, said Arthur. This tastes like soap and toothpaste. April Fool, laughed Francine. But Arthur was too worried to laugh. I'll never remember my magic tricks for the assembly, he said. Calm down, said Buster. I'll be your assistant. I'll help if you get stuck. Arthur felt better. He could count on Buster. But just before the assembly, Buster got caught putting sneezing powder on Mr. Ratburn's desk. Instead of going to the assembly, Buster went to the principal's office. I'll blow it for sure without Buster, thought Arthur. He walked into the auditorium. Who was sitting in the front row? Binky Barnes. This was going to be even worse than he thought. Arthur worried while Mr. Ratburn read people's minds. He worried while Francine and Muffy did shadow tricks. And he worried while the chorus sang That Old Black Magic. Finally, it was his turn. For my first trick, said Arthur, I'll need a volunteer. Binky Barnes jumped on the stage. Surprise, Pipsqueak, he whispered. Arthur gulped. Arthur asked Binky Barnes to tear up a sheet of paper and put it in the magic hat. He said the magic words and waved his magic wand to make the paper whole again. But rabbits came out instead. Everyone laughed. Arthur took a bow. By mistake, flowers fell out of his sleeve. Binky Barnes laughed harder than anyone. Then Arthur had an idea. He winked at Francine. For my next trick, I will saw this young man in half. Binky stopped laughing and took a step back. My saw, please, said Arthur. Binky turned pale. And now the bucket to collect the blood. Binky screamed. He stepped back again, this time right off the stage. Everyone laughed, even Mr. Ratburn. After the assembly, Arthur stopped Binky in the hall. What's the matter, Binky? You left before I could show you my best trick. No thanks, said Binky Barnes. Are you sure? It lets you see things you've never seen before, said Arthur. Really? Said Binky. He grabbed the telescope and pointed it at Francine. I don't see anything. Of course not, said Arthur. You have to know the secret words. Tell me, said Binky. I can't, Arthur explained. They're so secret, I have to write them down, backwards. Do you have a pen? Sure, here, said Binky. Arthur wrote the words. Now go home, hold the paper up to the mirror, and you'll be able to read the secret words. Thanks, Twerp, said Binky as he ran out the door. Boy, that's your best trick yet, said Buster. You didn't get pulverized and you made Binky Barnes disappear. What did you write? Asked Francine. April Fool. The name of this story is called D.W. Go to Your Room by Mark Brown. It was cold and rainy outside. Inside, D.W. was playing with her blocks. This is my castle, she said. Glabba, said baby Kate. Don't touch, shouted D.W. This is mine. Baby Kate took a block and laughed. Now look what you did, yelled D.W. D.W., warned Mother. She took my block, said D.W. Kate is a baby, said Mother, and you're a big girl. I'm not a big girl, said D.W. I'm a little girl. Baby Kate took another block and giggled. That's it, said D.W., trying to whisper. Give it back, or I'll pinch you. When D.W. grabbed the block, Baby Kate began to cry. "Dora Winifred Reed, go to your room," ordered Mother. "What did I do?" asked DW. In her room, DW stomped around. "This is so unfair," she thought. "I'm a prisoner in my own room. How will I survive?" she called downstairs. "I could starve." "Dinner's in 10 minutes," said Mother. "You can come out then." DW looked at her clock. "It's not moving," she thought. "It must be broken." But when she went downstairs, Father wouldn't listen. "DW, go to your room," he said. Okay, said DW. "You don't have to treat me like a criminal." Back in her room, DW felt sorry for herself. "I'm just a little servant girl for Mom, Dad, and Arthur," she thought. "All I do is work, work, work. Nobody loves me," thought DW, "and it's all Kate's fault. Maybe we could sell Kate at the next yard sale." Then DW got an idea. "I'll run away and go live on Button Island all by myself," she thought. "Then they'll be sorry." DW was packing when Mother came in with baby Kate. "Hi, sweetie," said Mother. "Would you watch Kate for a minute?" "First I'm punished," said DW. "Now I have to babysit the enemy?" Kate giggled. "Don't smile at me," said DW. "This is all your fault." Kate laughed and offered her pacifier to DW. DW looked at Kate. "I must be the meanest sister in the whole world," thought DW. Suddenly, DW remembered that her new bike was out in the rain. She ran downstairs and into the kitchen. "The only bike I have in the whole world is outside in the rain," she cried. "It's getting rusty." "I'll put it away," offered Arthur. "Okay," said Mother. "DW, go to your room." "Will the punishment never end?" moaned DW. "Grandma Thora is the only one who really loves me," thought DW. "Wait until I tell her what they did to me. She'll fix them." She gave Kate a hug. Just then, Mother came in. "Now that's the DW I like to see," she said. "By the way, your timeout is over. Dinner is ready." "Dinner?" said DW. "But we want to play a while." "Dinner's getting cold," called Mother. "We're playing dolls," called DW. "Just 5 more minutes, please." The name of this story is called Arthur in a Pickle by Mark Brown. The school bell rang. "Time to hand in your homework," said Mr. Ratburn. Everyone did, but Arthur. "Where's your homework?" Mr. Ratburn asked Arthur. "My dog ate it," said Arthur. "I don't think so," said Mr. Ratburn. "Go to the principal's office first thing in the morning. You're in a pickle now, Arthur." That night, Arthur just played with his food. He tossed and turned in bed. "I'm in a pickle," he said again and again until he fell asleep. Arthur dreamed that the pickle police were chasing him. He jumped into his pickle car. He stepped on the gas, but he didn't get far. The pickle police said, "Take him away." Up in the air, a pickle plane flew through pickle snow and rain. The pilot threw down a rope and pulled Arthur up. The plane went down in Pickle Town. "Look," said DW, "a pickle steeple." "Look," said Arthur, "pickle people." Some had pickle hair. Some had pickle toes. Some a pickle ear. Some a pickle nose. "Didn't do his homework," said Pickle Nose. "Lied that he did," said Pickle Toes. "You're going to jail, and absolutely no bail," shouted Judge Picklepuss. The jailer put Arthur on a pickle diet, and every day he said, "Just try it." For breakfast, pickled donuts and pickle flakes. For lunch, pickle pie and pickle shakes. For dinner, pickle soup and pickle cakes. "Let me out! Don't be so mean! I've had it," moaned Arthur. "I'm turning green." Suddenly, Arthur woke up. He went to his desk, opened his book, and did his homework. At school, Arthur went right to the principal's office. "I cannot tell a lie," he said. "My dog did not eat my homework. I did not do my homework, but here it is now. I'm sorry." The principal smiled. "Well, thank you, Arthur," he said. Arthur felt great all day until he asked, "What's for dinner?" And Dad said, "Pickled cabbage." The name of this story is called Arthur's Tooth by Mark Brown. Finally, Arthur had a loose tooth. He wiggled it with his tongue. He wiggled it with his finger. He wiggled it all the time. One afternoon, while Arthur was wiggling his tooth during math, he heard a loud scream. Francine jumped up. "My tooth just fell out on my desk," she cried. "Class, how many of you have lost a tooth?" asked Mr. Marco. Everyone but Arthur raised their hands. When Arthur got home, he didn't want any milk and cookies. "What's the matter, Arthur?" his mother asked. "I'm the only one in my class who still has all his baby teeth," he complained. "Don't worry," said his sister DW. "Before you know it, all your teeth will fall out and you can get false teeth like Grandma Thora." Arthur persuaded Father to make a special dinner for him. Steak, corn on the cob, and peanut brittle. "I can't believe one little tooth can take so long to fall out," said Father. The next day, Muffy brought in a whole jar of her teeth for show and tell. "I got $2 for each one," she said. "One from my dad and one from my mom. I put it all in the bank to earn interest. I'm waiting for my investment to double." "Not me," said Francine. "I'm spending mine." Later, the class saw a movie called Nasty Mr. Tooth Decay. "Between the ages of 4 and 7, the announcer began, "everyone begins to lose their deciduous or baby teeth." "Everyone except Arthur," shouted Francine. The whole class laughed. Arthur slid down in his seat. He wiggled his tooth as hard as he could. In the cafeteria, Francine practiced her new tricks. "Look," she said, "I can keep my teeth closed and still drink through a straw. And I can squirt water too. Everybody line up for a squirting contest. Everybody except Arthur. Babies with baby teeth can't squirt water." By the next day, Arthur was convinced his loose tooth would never fall out. His friends tried to help. Buster brought carrots for Arthur's lunch. Sue Ellen showed Arthur how to put raisins over his teeth to make it look as if some were missing. The brain invented a special machine. "It's a tooth remover," he explained. "Just put your head in here." Even Binky Barnes wanted to help. "I can knock that tooth out in 1 second flat," he said. That night, Arthur spent a lot of time in front of the bathroom mirror. He got up very early the next morning to wiggle his tooth again. "See how much looser it is?" he told his parents. "That's it," said his mother. "You need professional help. You're going to the dentist today." "Going to the dentist?" asked Francine. "Boy, do I feel sorry for you." There were other patients waiting to see Dr. Sozio. "Sorry," said the nurse. "We're running late. Have a seat." "Arthur, you were smart to bring a book," said Mother. Finally, it was Arthur's turn. "I wish all my patients were as good at waiting as you are," said Dr. Sozio. "How old are you now, Arthur?" "7," said Arthur. "And I still have all my baby teeth." "I was 8 before I lost my first tooth," said Dr. Sozio. "Everyone is different." "Really?" said Arthur. Dr. Sozio examined Arthur's loose tooth. "This one should fall out very soon," he said. "Just wait." Arthur got back to school just in time for recess. "Still have all your baby teeth?" Francine asked. "Then you can't play in the game. I'm the tooth fairy. Only people who've lost teeth can play." "If you're the tooth fairy," said Arthur, "I think I'll keep all my teeth. I can wait." He started over to the softball game. "Whoever I touch," said Francine, "loses a tooth." She flapped her arms. "The one who loses the most wins." Francine twirled around and touched Buster. She twirled faster and touched Sue Ellen. Twirling even faster, she slipped and hit Arthur. "Sorry, Arthur," Francine said, "but I told you, no babies allowed." Arthur picked up his glasses. "It's okay," he said. "It's probably the nicest thing you've ever done for me." "What do you mean?" asked Francine. Arthur just smiled.